Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Garage. Today we're talking about Le Mans, across a 24-hour race, the legendary race, one of the toughest races in the world. And this is Nissan's entry into that race. This is a fascinating car. You know, this is exciting to me because so much of Formula One and NASCAR, the rules and regulations are so tight, you can't get outside the box at all. I grew up in the era of the Chaparrals and all that kind of stuff, and in NASCAR, the Hemi cars and the Cyclones and the Talladegas and Smokey Yunick, and guys would cheat and come up with interesting ways to get around the rule book. And this is Nissan's answer to that. I don't pretend to be an expert on this. Let's bring in Zach Aiken. Zach, come on in. You're the chief engineer in this project, right?
Yes, I am, Jay. Thank you.
Now, the official name is Nissan NISMO, what is it? GT, what is it?
It's the Nissan GTR LM NISMO.
Very good. Okay, good. Now, it's really unusual. The car is front-wheel drive, correct?
Front engine, front-wheel drive.
Okay.
That's right.
And to my knowledge, with the exception of a couple of obscure little two-cylinder French cars, nobody really runs front-wheel drive in race cars, do they?
Not for a long, long time. Everybody's gone to a mid-engine, rear-wheel drive formula as the belief of the best format for the car, and we've just taken a different interpretation of the rules. And
now, do you believe that it's not the best format, or are you just going with a different way of doing it?
Well, we think this is the most competitive way within the regulations to get around Le Mans.
Right.
And it's not obvious why it would be better, but you know, there's a number of aerodynamic reasons why it's very clever to put a lot of weight at the front of the car, because the downforce you can generate on the front of one of these cars is terrifically efficient, but the rules make the rear downforce very draggy.
Okay.
So it's, you know, we've got an opportunity to run a lot more downforce, which is one of the, you know, the key lap time, you know, dictators for the performance of the car.
Yeah, so you're either going to be geniuses or complete idiots. You don't know.
That is
But I say that in a good way, because, you know, when you look at Audi, they've won the last 10 races in a row.
Yeah,
so what do? Do you go in and you copy what they do and try to do it better, or you come in with a totally different approach? And that's what I like, because a lot of times manufacturers will just copy whatever the winning car is and do their version of it. And again, it's not as good because they won.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a totally different reinterpretation, dare I say, bizarre engineering in this car. But I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
That's, like, to me, I don't, like when Audi ran the diesel, it didn't really interest me. It's a diesel. And, whereas this harkens back to Dan Gurney and Chaparral. You know, I was a kid when the Chaparrals showed up at the racetracks with a snowblower motor running two big fans, sucking the car to the ground. People going, "Oh, don't ban it. It's not going to win anything. Let it go." Because it blew them out of the
And
weeds.
as soon as it's quick, let's ban that thing. Yeah,
that's what's fascinating. All right, let's go over the car. Now, this is the show car. There's no motor in this one, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Later, we've got some footage of the car on the track with the driver, and with Jan is his name, right?
Jan Mardenborough.
Jan Mardenborough. And he has a fascinating story. He's a kid who won the Sony Gran Turismo.
Yeah, GT Academy. That's the...
So he only raced as a video game, and he was so good, they made him a race car driver, and he's a race car driver.
And winner, yeah.
And a winner. So that's a fascinating story, too. So as you can see, the whole process of this car is just totally off the wall. It's just a whole different way. I just can't imagine going to the head boss. Look, we're going to take a kid who won the video game championships, and we're going to put him in a front-wheel drive car that has a...
Let's put him in a multi-million-dollar race car and cross our fingers. It'll be fine.
Let's take a look at the front of the car. Well, there's something unconventional. The exhaust is exiting right here in front of the windshield. I haven't seen that since, I don't know, since people put an airplane engine in cars after World War I. That's really different.
Yeah, it's, you know, the engine for the car lives up here right in front of the driver's feet. So it, you know, takes air in from the crash box, sends it through the turbos, the engine, and then the shortest exhaust we could come up with was just straight out the hood either way. And it actually, you know, the way it then manages the airflow down the side into the back end of the car, across the rear wing and all, that's all, you know, optimized and developed into the design of the car.
Now, what would you say is the greatest advantage of this car? Is it the aerodynamics, or is it the mechanical layout of the car? I'm going to guess and say it's the aerodynamics, because that sort of dictates why you have the front-wheel drive. Is that correct?
Very much so. You know, in race car design, there's four things that make a difference to lap time. Everything else is secondary at best. It's, you know, horsepower and weight, which is easy for everybody to understand, tires and aerodynamics. Everything below that is, you know, less important. So it's absolutely, the car is, you know, every compromise is made for the best aerodynamics as possible.
Okay. And this is confusing to me, I assume, but that's probably because of regulation. I go, this seems like it would break up the whole airflow of the car, but that's the law. You have to have...
We do have to have them there, and
Yeah.
interestingly, they're positioned around these mandatory cutouts in the front wheel arches.
Okay.
So they actually interact with the front tire wake, and rather than having more air spill out the top when the car going forward, it spills out more down the side because of the way they're positioned. So.
And why is it mandatory that you have wheel cutouts here? What is the reason for that?
Well, it's, at Le Mans, there's been trouble with a lot of cars when they
going
spin
up.
and
Oh, I
flip
see.
going sideways, and so this is one of the things that the ACO have done to make the cars more stable when they spin. To, you know, if this
I
is
see.
the
Oh,
air
of
side,
course.
it
Yeah.
bleeds out rather than creates a big lift surface over the fender.
Yeah,
So,
all right.
yeah, that and the fin across the back and the rear wheels are all part of that mandatory stability when the car slides.
Okay, and what do we have here?
So that's the leader light system. So that's, if you're leading the race, one light will be lit up.
Okay.
If you've got two lights lit up, you're in second place, and, you know, three for third. So it gives the spectators that are there watching the race around, they
Is
know
that
when,
something the driver does, or is that done from the pit?
done from the pit board.
Okay.
So if
Because
you
you
come,
just put it, I'm going to say I'm leading.
yeah, why not?
Yeah, okay. All right. Brakes fairly conventional. Anything unusual there?
It's carbon brake material.
Okay.
You know, lightweight racing spec brakes. Because of the front weight distribution, our front brakes work very, very hard in this car.
I would imagine. So what is your weight distribution? It looks like it would be 65.
Very
Maybe?
close, Jay.
Yeah, what do we got?
Well, this is a highly guarded secret, of course.
Oh,
but
I
yes,
see.
we're well into the 60s.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm into my 60s as well, so this is why I identify with that. Now, those carbon, not carbon fiber, carbon.
Yeah, yeah.
And what do those cost? Like 50 grand a piece, something like that? Something crazy?
Yeah, for about a car sets around like that, and they
But-
don't last very long, and they take about 6 months to make.
Do they last the whole race?
Well, we'll see.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's our front brakes are right on the limit of whether or not they can make 24
Wow.
hours. So.
And now, is changing a rotor something you can do fairly quickly in the pits?
Yeah, so we've designed it specifically so that we'll change the rotor, pads, and caliper all as one unit and
I see.
put a new caliper and rotor on without needing to rebleed anything.
And that must glow just.
Oh, yeah.
What are we looking at?
1200
degrees?
Yeah,
something?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
C,
right.
yeah.
All right. Wow. Okay. Pretty amazing. So let's see. Let's move along the side of the car here. It's, you know, it's so funny. It's not the uninitiated's idea of what aerodynamic would look like. I mean, most people think like a Countach, which is not aerodynamic at all,
Yeah.
or a teardrop. It almost appears somewhat brick-like from the side.
Yeah. One of the really innovative things and difficult engineering challenges of the car was what we've done with the aerodynamics. So the air that comes under the front of the car, the splitter, that's what makes the huge front downforce.
Okay.
Most of the competition vents the air that comes under the splitter out behind out behind the front wheels in this area. We've actually put a tunnel through the entire car that exits out the back, which is why the rear deck of the car is so high, because there's literally 2 tunnels. I mean, I've sent my 2-year-old son down the tunnels just to crawl in there
Really?
and get a picture. Yeah, yeah.
Now, does your wife know this, or is this just...
She found the evidence.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
afraid.
that's not good. Yeah. Wives tend to
Yeah.
frown on putting the kids in the aerodynamic tunnel.
Yeah.
Kids love it, but you know,
Yeah.
you don't want to be doing that. Okay.
Yeah,
now-
but there's literally a hole through each side of the entire car. So this side pod, where it looks quite a big cross section,
yeah, this is
actually
just a sewer pipe.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So you know the cross sectional area of the car is actually a lot less than it appears from the outside because it's got a giant hole in it.
Is it a guarded secret how many pounds of downforce are in the front, or is that something you can talk about?
Well, let's say well over twice the weight of the car.
Wow. Okay. So is it power steering?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is power steering. Electric or hydraulic?
Hydraulic. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, that's interesting. I would have thought they'd go electric, but
Well, it's, hydraulic is actually still lighter and more powerful.
Yeah.
And it becomes difficult in a lot of modern race cars that are mid or rear engine, because the pump, which will be engine driven, is at the back, and the steering rack's way up at the front. So
Right.
the hydraulic lines all get long, and you get latency with pressure buildup issues. But for us, you know, the line between the pump and the rack is about 6 inches long. So
Okay.
it's very fast response.
And to me, the coolest part of this car, now technically it is front wheel drive,
Yeah.
but the rear wheels are driven.
Well, we have the ability to drive the rear wheels,
Oh.
and we're still actually in debate as to whether we're going to make the hybrid system, which can recover from the heavy front end.
I see.
And it can deploy either to the front or the rear, and so there's a weight distribution and total weight of the car balance to be traded off. So,
Okay. So you don't know if you're going to run the hybrid system yet?
well, we are going to run it, but
Okay.
whether or not we drive the front wheels with it or drive the rear wheels, because we can do
I
away
see.
with a lot of drive line if we only drive the front wheels. So there's still a few engineering trade-offs being made.
Let's explain, because this hybrid system is my favorite kind of hybrid system. It's not electric, it's mechanical.
That's
correct?
right.
And it's a flywheel that spins. I mean, picture almost like one of those little cars you have
Yeah,
when you're a
you
kid.
pull it
You go
backwards
like
and-
this, you get the wheel spin, then you put it down and it takes off. Because what? You hit the brake and it spins a flywheel that weighs how much? Heavy?
Oh no, it's about 16 pounds,
16. But it's spinning at,
52,000 RPM.
okay, all right. so.
Inside of a vacuum that, with the diameter and that speed, it's, the tips of the flywheel are well over the speed of sound. So we have
Okay.
to run it in a vacuum or it would literally burn up.
Does it make a noise as it goes through the speed of sound? Well, it's in a vacuum, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's in a vacuum, so
Yeah.
the gears make a terrific noise.
Yeah.
It's all straight cut spur gears, so they
Oh,
make
right.
a lot.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So otherwise, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
So then so that spinning thing literally just makes contact and the wheels connect and you take off and you're good for what? 3 seconds, 4 seconds? How many?
It depends how much grip and how much power you have to put
Okay.
it down. In racing, you want to put it down as quick as you can. So if you could put it all out in 1 second, you would at,
Right.
incredible horsepower, but it's just how much grip you've got. And so it's got its own traction control and
you're still trying to figure out if you want to do that on the front wheels or the rear, huh?
yeah, and
That's
it's
interesting.
all, what the mass and mass distribution of the car is and, just finding the right engineering trade-off.
Well, how more often will you have to change tires? It seems like you've got all the weight, you've got all the braking, and if you run the hybrid system through there as well, it seems like you're going to be eating tires up fairly quickly.
The fronts work hard, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So far, Michelin have provided us some really good tires, and the wear doesn't seem to be an issue. We should be able to run 3 stints or 3 tanks of gas on the front tires, and the rears, right now, it's looking more like 6 or 10 is possible.
Before we take a look at the rear of the vehicle, let me ask you about Jan. He's the young man who is one of the drivers at Le Mans this year.
He's one of our 9 drivers for Le Mans, yeah.
And he's like 24 years old.
Yeah.
But the fascinating thing is he got to drive this car because he wasn't a race car driver before, but he won the Sony PlayStation GT, what do they call it?
Gran Turismo GT Academy.
Yeah, GT Academy.
Yeah.
So the fact that he was the fastest guy on a video game, well, it makes sense. Let's put him in a race car. Why not? But that's what happened, isn't it?
That's quite literally what they did, yeah. And it turns out he is rocket ship fast.
Boy, that's amazing. Now, where is he now? We have some footage. Where is this from?
Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Where the Corvettes are made.
That's right.
Ooh, little competition there. Let's go to Jan. Jan?
Thanks, Jay. This is our real car. I understand you've got our show car. There's some differences between the show car and the real car. So under the bonnet, we have 3-litre twin-turbo V6 at the top. We have the gearbox mounted in front of the engine, and also the clutch is at the front of the gearbox. So it's very unconventional to a normal car. 2 massive radiators at the front as well to cool our car, and we have the suspension rockers and arms. In here as well, after the engine, we have the ERS unit, which is our electrical power. So it's a very packed engine compartment, and hopefully we won't need to see this in the race at Le Mans. We could keep the bonnet on it and just keep running around. So we have Lucas in the car, another GT Academy winner. Inside the car, it's very tight and compact. We can't afford to be too wide. So the seating position, it's very similar to a single-seater. We sit very low, our legs are quite high in the air. Our feet actually are on top of the ERS unit, so they're much more higher than they would be in an LMP2 car, for example. But we actually sit quite far forwards, where we sit like a GT car, but our legs are quite high. So it's a bit different, but if we have a good seat, which we do, it's fine. You can do 3 or 4 stints and feel completely fresh, jump out of the car and have no aches and pains, which is needed for endurance racing. So a really cool feature on this car is the aero tunnels. So by here we have, you can see the front of the car. So the air gets funneled through here and actually sucks the car to the floor, which is very unique to our car, and it's very unique to sports car racing. And Nissan and Ben Bulby have done a really good job in maximising downforce, but also creating a car that has really low drag, which is needed for Le Mans straight line speed. We've got some new aero bits on the car as well on the rear fenders. Just getting ready for Le Mans, finding out what works, what doesn't, what needs to be made stronger, and ready for the racing. So Lucas is in car 22 at the moment, the red car. I'm about to get ready and jump in car 23, which is the black car, and show you a lap of the Bowling Green.
Now we're in the pit lane and about to start our first lap of a full stint. And this corner now it's coming up, which is a right-hander, which is meant to represent the start of Porsche curves. You have the right, you hold it quite tight on the exit. And you have the left of Porsche curve, there's a bump here. And then there's another left here, which is just flat. So the visibility, it's a lot better now having a seat in the car, custom seat for me. But yeah, obviously it's difficult turning right because you have the A-pillar and we have the right-hand fender, so it's difficult sometimes to really know you're on an apex or on the white line. So the steering wheel is there's a lot more buttons and modes than normally in a GP3 car. In GP3 we have a radio and a pit button, that's it. In this car we have obviously radio and pit, but we have diff settings, traction control settings, which there's multiple areas in that. So we have 2 TC settings, we have engine settings, we have strategy settings, which are really in depth for the lift and coast. And we also have a LCD screen, which gives us information for tire pressures when the ERS is activated, and it gives us some warnings. So the information we have is similar to Formula 1. So the power of this car is absolutely fantastic. And then down the pit straight, which is 1.2k, Le Mans straight is 1.8, and we're getting up to 330k or around that, definitely over 320 when we get good exit. Braking hard into the first corner, get the car straight as you can.
Okay, yeah,
Off.
So I hope you like seeing it on track. I can't wait to take it to Le Mans and Narvik and the team, so see you soon.
Well, that was pretty cool. I mean, he was running 180 miles an hour or something.
Yep.
It's hard to get a sensation of speed. It looked like you're going 40, you know, but unless you're going past picket fences or something, you don't get any sense of speed in the car, but it shows you how stable it is. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll be well over 200 miles an hour at Le Mans. Yeah.
Okay, this is the rear of the car, and I guess regulations, you've got to run tail lights and stop lights, correct?
Yep, that's right.
I remember you used to have a trunk. No trunk anymore?
No trunk anymore. They
Okay.
even used to make you carry a spare tire, but thankfully we don't have that regulation anymore.
Yeah, the tire, look how big that would be. But this is the real key, is the aerodynamics. The car, it literally flows through the car, doesn't it?
Yeah, as you can literally see the ground between the front wheels here. It's, there's just enormous holes down either side of the cockpit from the front to the back.
Wheels appear to be just regular race wheels. Anything special there?
Forged magnesium
Okay.
BBS race wheels.
Okay. So those are the aftermarket. You go to the aftermarket for that.
Well, we design them
Okay.
and have BBS make them to
Oh, I see.
work with
So
our single nut hubs and all that.
Right. So the engine is bespoke to this car, Nissan, built specifically only for this vehicle, correct?
That's right.
Not based on an existing Nissan block of any kind.
Every
Okay.
component was specially designed and built just for this
Okay.
program.
So it's what, 3-liter twin turbo?
Yep.
Okay.
V6, 60-degree V6, just like the road car.
How many valves per cylinder?
4 valves per cylinder.
4 valves,
Yep.
okay.
Twin turbo.
And what's the horsepower?
High 500s.
A high 500s. Well, that doesn't seem like a whole lot, but when you combine it with the hybrid system, you're looking at probably what?
Well over 1,000 horsepower.
Oh, okay, there it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So the actual engine is only about 50% of the power, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's...
And the interesting thing to think about is the engine actually still makes all the propulsion of the car. It still comes from gasoline.
Right.
But what the hybrid system does is, instead of dumping all the brakes and getting rid of all that energy into heat, it gathers it back up. But it all started from the engine, so
Right.
the engine fuel efficiency is still very critical to the performance of the car.
And well, let's take a look. Can we open the hood or open the doors rather, and see what the driver's compartment is like?
Absolutely.
I guess we'll pull this here.
Yep.
All right, a little cramped.
Yes, it's not made for comfort.
No, okay, but pretty straightforward. Not as confusing as many race car.
Yeah, at Le Mans we've got so many different drivers that all have to share the car. We have to make the controls very simple and not all just the way one driver likes it. It's got to be universal so that anybody can.
Right. Yeah, like I see, they're pictures rather than letters. It's kind of like the cash register at McDonald's, picture of a hamburger,
Exactly.
picture of French fries.
Race drivers, you can't trust them.
Really? Wow, I can see, well, you're going to do very well. Yeah. And how many speeds are we talking in the gearbox?
We're only a 5-speed forward
speed.
plus reverse.
Okay, 5-speed forward.
It's a very, very broad power band.
Right.
So,
Okay, and what kind of RPMs does this engine turn?
red line 6,500.
Okay, so not crazy.
Yeah, it's all about efficiency. So, we've only got a certain amount of fuel.
Right.
So the best horsepower we can make is, at around 5,500. So we can run from 4.5 to 5 to 6.5.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's fascinating about Le Mans. Like when McLaren F1 ran, the McLaren F1 race car actually was not as fast as the McLaren road car.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, but
by regulation, I believe.
That's what they had to do.
Fans and things on the car, on the road car, for aero switches and things that.
I wish NASCAR and F1 would just say, have a run what you brung year. Just bring whatever you want and just see what kind of innovative, different ideas. Because I know Gordon Murray would get extremely frustrated because he would come up with these great things and they would get banned, so he'd put them on the road cars.
Yeah.
That's.
And that's we're blessed in the LMP1 regulations are probably the most free in all of motorsports right now, which has allowed us to do this crazy thing. You can't make a front-engine Formula One car.
Right.
So it's just not allowed.
I know. Yeah, that's too bad. Well, it's just a fascinating car. There's so many little pieces of different thinking here, and this is what makes racing exciting to me. This is what really makes it fun, is when people come in with new ideas and fresh ideas and doing things a different way. And this is why this class of racing is the most interesting to me, because it is sort of run what you brung. You really come in with new ideas. Like you said, you can't build a front-wheel drive F1 car anymore, correct?
Not these days.
Because all the rules, you have to have this has to be this.
Yeah.
I wish one year they just have bring whatever you want. And just see what happens.
Yeah. And that's LMP1 is the closest there is to that right now, where we can do something crazy like that and show up.
Because there's really a lot of new, innovative, different thinking here. And even if it doesn't win, it certainly makes a statement. It's like, to me, I wasn't much interested in Nissan as a car company until they come out with the latest GTR, because they were nice cars, but they weren't enthusiast cars. I didn't get excited about the brand. Where the GTR made me excited about the brand. What's fun about this is it makes you excited about the brand because you realize they're thinking on a different level. I mean, maybe someday this hybrid system will work its way down to a road car.
Yeah, maybe a road car GTR one day.
Yeah, that would be exciting to see. And well, it's because of you guys. Zach, thank you very much. Congratulations. And we'll be watching. See you guys later.
Mm-hmm.